What's up, guys? These are my predictions for UFC Fight Night, Japan happening Friday. I thought this card was going to be on a Saturday. Completely forgot it was on a Friday. Let's start with Gokhan Saki versus Henrique de Silva. This is an anticipated fight in the UFC because of Saki being as elite of a kickboxer as you can get. He's fought the who's who in kickboxing. He's fought Overeem, he's fought Badahari, he's fought many legends, many other elite kickboxers and actually beat them. And now he's here at 205. He did have a fight before, but it didn't go too well for him. The matchmaking in this fight is pretty interesting because they put Henrique de Silva against him, who's also a striker. Hopefully people are going to want to see a standing battle, which is probably not going to be good for De Silva because Gokhan Saki is vicious. He has so much power. His speed is incredible. His ability to get in on his opponent, land shots, make him cover up, and land shots to the body, around the gloves, around the arms, is really good. His body shots are some of the best I've seen in kickboxing. Okay, but here's the thing. When people see specialists come from other sports, like in this case Gokhan Saki coming from kickboxing, people automatically have this idea that no one can stand with him, you know? This is not the case in MMA because there's a lot of different variables. It's not a straight kickboxing match because Saki's going to be worried by something he's never been worried about in kickboxing, and that's takedowns. And that could throw the timing off his striking. If De Silva starts going for shots, driving it into the cage, Saki's able to shrug him off, and then De Silva starts faking shots and getting Saki to react to them, De Silva can land shots over the top and striking exchanges. There is that, but Saki, from what we've seen in kickboxing, which is a little bit different, is just an absolute monster. He does everything well. His movement, it's not constant, it's more of a reaction. When his opponent comes at him, he moves. But he likes to march his opponent down, open up with leg kicks first, get in close, land big shots over the top, make him cover up, go to the body. He just does not allow his opponent to rest, or he doesn't let his opponent get away from him. And then you have De Silva, who is more of a wild striker. He is an MMA fighter, so he has to have some kind of wrestling training, some BJJ training, and it'll be the safest route for him to go that direction. Don't try to straight kickbox with Gokhan Saki. Mix up takedowns. Fake a takedown, go up with the uppercut. Throw some leg kicks at Saki, who likes to be a little bit heavy on his feet sometimes. Get in a clinch, dirty box with him. So in this fight, it's a hard fight to predict because you don't know where Gokhan Saki's at. You don't know how much he evolved this game for MMA, so it's a really hard fight to call. It's almost completely unpredictable. But I'm going to go with the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go with Gokhan Saki. I think he's going to catch De Silva as De Silva is trying to stand with him. I do see De Silva going for takedowns, but I do see Saki surprising people by standing up or shrugging him off. And I do see him catching him on the feet and knocking him out. Probably in the second round. Then we go to Takanori Gomi versus Donghyun Kim, the smaller Donghyun Kim. I mean, this is a kind of a sad fight. I don't want to see Takanori Gomi take any more damage. His chin is nowhere near it used to be. When he was in Pride and he was fighting all these guys, his chin and his power were pretty much his thing, you know? His ability to take shots and land his own, that used to be kind of his style too. It just completely disappeared. He has a really big right, keeps a very low stance to deliver that right hand really quickly. Before he did have good wrestling, I don't know what happened to it in the UFC, but he doesn't really go to it anymore. He just tries to stand and just trade shots with his opponent and land his big shots. And he's fighting Donghyun Kim, who is a well-rounded fighter. Pretty much does everything. He's not great at anything. He's just very well-rounded. He could do it all. He could strike with you. His takedowns are really good. His ground and pound's pretty good. And he's the younger fighter here. So in this fight, I'm going to go with Donghyun Kim. I don't think Gomi could take his shots. I think Kim is going to use his movement, his footwork, which Gomi is very foreign to. Gomi comes from a world where fighters don't really move too much. They stand in front of each other, and then they pick their shots. They either go striking, or they go for a takedown from where they're at. He's not used to seeing opponents move around on them, throw leg kicks at him because he's really heavy on that front leg, and even mix up takedowns from strikes. I do see Kim finishing the fight in the first round, and I do see this being Gomi's last fight because it is in Japan. I think he's planning his last fight here. So yeah, I have Kim by first round TKO. Then we go to the co-main event, and I would probably have to say the most anticipated fight of the card. Claudia Gadelha versus Jessica Andrade. I thought this was going to be the main event. I was kind of surprised to see OSP and Yushin Okami as the main event, although Okami is from Japan, so when Shogun was in it, I wasn't that surprised because it's Shogun and he's fighting in Japan. This is a really good fight. This is one of the best fights you could put on in the division. They're very similar in size, their heights, their reach, and a little bit of their style, although Claudia is much more technical, and Andrade uses that power. So you have Claudia, who is probably the best BJJ fighter in this division. You could argue with Rose too, but she's the most controlling and fundamental BJJ fighter in the division. Her striking is pretty good too, especially offensively. She's able to strike with Joanna, dropping her one time with a jab, stunning her with an elbow in the clinch. I mean, she's really good with her strikes. She's really fast too, explosive. Her jab is really good, her overhand right as well. But she's changed her style a little bit since the last fight when she fought Carolina, which was her best performance. She went straight to BJJ. Didn't really care about the striking in that fight. Just got in the distance, got it to the ground, got the back right away, and sunk in the choke. I mean, she showed her high-level BJJ in that fight. She could show it here too, but it's going to be really hard to get Andrade to the ground. But if she does, Claudia is amazing at transitions and amazing at controlling her opponents. She always keeps really high pressure when she's on top to transition on them, either land ground and pound. In the past, she would just lay on her opponents, win points, but we've seen that she can get their back really quick once they try to escape on her. And now we have Jessica Andrade, who is just a pure powerhouse. She's not technical, really. She's very young, but she's not young in the UFC. She has the most UFC fights I think of any woman ever. I think she has 12 fights in the UFC. But she's young generally, and she's still learning. Especially in this division, she has enormous power. She's probably going to be the only one to overpower Claudia. She throws a lot of hooks, a lot of haymakers. Very, very aggressive. Even more aggressive than Claudia is. So Claudia is going to have to time those takedowns under the hooks, which is probably going to be the main game plan for Claudia. But Andrade does not allow it. I mean, her hips are really good. She's really good at stopping takedowns. Her own takedowns are very powerful, but I don't think she wants to go that route to get Claudia on her back. She can really knock her opponents out. She's one of the only ones that could do it in this division with her hands, because any of them can head kick someone. But she doesn't throw too many kicks. Everything is just punches. She's usually good at cutting the opponent off, like we see in the Angela Hill fight, but the Joanna fight, she was completely lost from Joanna. Joanna completely matadored her every single time, and Andrade just didn't know where to get her footing. Although Claudia is not going to have that kind of footwork, it's going to be a little bit more predictable, so I do see Claudia being on the fence in this fight, and I do see Andrade marching her down, timing her shots, not being too aggressive like she was against Joanna, but cutting her off and then looking for her big shots and try to stalk her and then counter her, or stalk her and explode on her at the right timing. And her submissions are actually pretty good as well. Most of her wins are by submission. She has a really good guillotine. So if Claudia goes for a takedown, she's going to have to watch for that. But other than that, there's not too much threat from Andrade other than her just trying to stand up. And I do see Claudia having a hard time taking her down. And when she does take her down, I do see Claudia gain the advantage, but I do see her having a lot of trouble keeping her down, but I do think she will. So in this fight, I'm going to go with Claudia Gadelha. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Andrade is going to put a really good fight against her. But I do see Claudia using that jab inside the hooks and transition it to a takedown and actually getting it off that. When Andrade throws those haymakers at her, the shot is going to be open as a counter. I think it's going to sweep Andrade right off her feet. But I do see a decision. I don't see her submitting Andrade. So I do see Claudia getting the decision. Then we go to the main event. OSP versus Okami. I did not expect this fight at all. I thought my eyes were tricking me or something when I saw Yushin Okami there. If anyone doesn't remember, Yushin Okami got cut from the UFC off of one loss or 2 losses, and he was like the number 5 ranked middleweight, which was very strange to everybody. I think the Jacare fight put him out of there. And now he's back at light heavyweight against a big light heavyweight. So this is a little interesting here. OSP is a bit well-rounded, but he's wild. So he's dangerous, but against a very skilled and calculated fighter, he usually doesn't do too well against. His punches are really wide. He has a pretty good jab. He's very powerful though. His kicks, especially his power leg and his check hook that he landed on Shogun. Those are some dangerous weapons that he has. But they're pretty predictable and they're not too quick. So Okami, who is a veteran, who's seen it all, fought some of the best fighters in the world, I think he's going to see some of these shots coming at him. And OSP has very sneaky submissions, like that Von Flue choke that he lands. So even if Okami gets it to the ground, which he's going to want to do, he's going to have to watch out from those submissions from OSP and not be too conservative on the ground. And the big knock on OSP too is his cardio. He has shown to get tired in his fights. And that could be the key thing for Yushin Okami, because Okami is pretty good cardio. But OSP has been showing to really gas out in his fights. He's a very explosive guy. He doesn't move too much, but everything is explosion. When he comes and throws that long hook, when he comes in and throws that body kick that he always loves to throw. But when you go to Yushin Okami, he's a pretty good takedown artist. That's where he goes in the fights. He tries to take his opponent out and stay on top of them, sometimes land big ground and pound, or he just grinds it to a decision. His judo is really excellent, and because of that balance that he has on the feet, I don't see OSP taking him down, even having the size advantage that he does. I think Okami is very experienced there and very strong there. His throws are pretty good, although they're not too flashy. You know, his takedowns are not flashy like you would think they would be. He has pretty good wrestling himself too. He trained with Chael Sonnen and a bunch of other fighters in the past. Pretty good ground and pound, but usually just tries to grind it to a decision. And my prediction for the fight, I'm actually going to go with Yushin Okami. I do see him getting hurt in the early rounds. He could get finished in the early rounds, but I do see him getting hurt but pulling back. You know, I do see him weathering the storm. I do see OSP really gassing, and then I see Okami taking him down and eventually winning by TKO on the ground in his home Japan. I do see it in the 3rd or 4th round. So those are my predictions, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. And also comment below what your guys' predictions are. What do you guys think? Who's going to win these fights? And what do you guys think of the card in general? It actually looks like a pretty fun card. Again, this is another card people are looking over. And we all know what that means. Watch the card. Because every fight night card that everyone's looking over tends to be one of the best cards of the year. Last card was insane. A lot of people looked over it. So yeah, make sure you guys watch these fights. I'm going to break down one of the fights in the card. And like I said in my last video, I am working on 2 other videos right now. So those are going to come out very soon as well. A legacy video and a technique video. Be on the lookout for those as well. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.